I have Iconic on the line with me, and we're going to discuss a few different things in crypto. We haven't really discussed any topics that we're going to go over, so we're going to keep the door really open. If you want to ask a question to Iconic, just send me a IRC message. I'll try and get the question across to him. I don't really know what to ask you right off start, but I'm going to ask you about ByteCent then, because this is your coin, so it's a good way to introduce you. You've developed a cryptocurrency. It's no secret. Everybody knows that. I'm not sure if I even said it right. ByteCent.
You said it right. Correct.
Yeah, I know some people call it ByteCent or something like a bison almost. And I'm like, no, that's not the way you pronounce it. Right.
Right. It's a ByteCent, correct.
And your intentions with designing a crypto are just because you've been involved so long in crypto, or did you just, is it because you were maybe drifting away from crypto and you really wanted to do more to keep yourself involved? What is the reasoning for you to decide finally, after I'm not sure how long you've been in crypto, to produce a coin and offer it out to people mining?
Right. No, it wasn't because I was drifting away. Actually, the opposite. The more I got to learn about crypto, the more I wanted to be involved. But no, the main reason why I created a cryptocurrency is because I felt like mostly everyone else was doing it wrong. They were just following each other, and they were not bringing, much new to the table. Stuff that's unique and different. Most of the stuff that's out there now is just gimmicks. So I wanted to do something different and bring something that was fresh and new. And I also felt like when you look at the coins today, there's a lot of focus on technology, but little focus on bringing new people in, expanding outside of the current community.
Well, we actually had a bit of a conversation about bringing more people in, and we were looking at the Twitch TV a lot and how it is just accepting Bitcoin right now, and it is also accepting the Dogecoin. We never did figure out whether they're accepting Litecoin. It's an assumption made by me. Usually somewhere accepts Bitcoin and accepts Litecoin too. But back to ByteCent, I do have a strange question for you, and
sure.
I'd like to know, what is your feelings right now about its value falling under the ICO? And it's not very much. 20,000 Satoshis, I screw that away every day. So how do you feel about now that you've done your calculations and that the coin has been pressured underneath its initial coin offering?
Right. Well, see, this is the thing, and I've said this quite a few times. In crypto, people get confused. They look at the current value of a coin, and then they relate that to the success or failure of the coin. You can't do that. Because if you look at stocks or if you look at Forex, though, if the dollar goes down a bit, that doesn't mean the American government is going down. If you look at Google, if Google goes down a few points, it doesn't mean that Google is done. So with ByteCent, people are looking at the ICO price, and then they're looking at the current price and like, well, it's below it. Well, 2 BTC would take it well above the ICO price. What people don't seem to understand is that we have regular people that are mining every single day. We don't have huge farms or anything like that. These are just regular people solo mining. And we have people from countries that are, unfortunately, they're developing countries. So if you can have someone who can get on their regular computer and mine a couple of dollars a week or, a few dollars a month, they're gonna sell those coins, because mining ByteCent even at 10 cents or 11 cents is very profitable. So of course, it's for some people, it's like, oh, well, it's below the ICO price. So they're not happy about that, and that's understandable. But we have a lot of things that are coming in the next week or so that people can understand why I've been doing what I've been doing and why I'm not even worried about that at all.
I've actually followed your coin quite intently. I'm probably one of the first big miners right at the start. I saw different kind of complications that even you were having to deal with. And
right.
right now, myself, what I see is a market that is just not able to sustain prices yet. We're not in a boom again. It's in a pop right now, and everybody's suffering from that. But probably you are, and your coin rather, is not going to be something that's just going to drift away from Bittrex and be delisted. We've seen that come time and time again, and I'm right now seeking out, and I think a lot of people are, is which ones are the gems, which ones are going to succeed, and what are they doing, and what are they doing it for? So that, again, brings me to another question, again, about ByteCent, about your wallet is available on modern download sites, and this was per a discussion last night, and I find that as innovation and more movement in crypto that now that one person has got it done, there is a possibility of a few more coins getting there, and that is awareness and surface, something that Bitcoin really needs. Because if we're going to have more people, they have to have access to it. And they're not going to use it unless it's easy to use. And you might actually have a gateway coin, much like Doge, once things really get rolling. They'll bring in more users, bring in more.
Well, see, that's the thing. And I've said this on my podcast, that, we have to do each step at a time. So the first step was to create something that was easy for everyone to mine, that they didn't have to be a techie to be able to mine. They can install it and just basically click mine and start going. So now, we're at the point where we have a bunch of people mining, but okay, what do you do with those coins? And okay, if someone wants to come in and buy those coins, how easy is it to do that? So that's what we're working on now. And we're going to do another crypto first, and I promise you that
you're going to do it. Did I hear that right? You're going to do another crypto?
Yeah, another crypto first, meaning, we're going to be the first.
My apologies.
Yeah. No,
I understand. A first in crypto to create more awareness. Like the Dogecoin and what they did, getting it painted on NASCAR. And being Canadian, my seeing and feeling of this, and NASCAR is probably one of the strongest roots of pulling people together in the United States when they needed something like that. And to have it printed on the NASCAR, awareness is there. People know that the Dogecoin is. People know that crypto's here. Because I asked you a question off air about how many of your friends do you talk to about crypto? And I said, then you said they just kind of, and I cut you and I said, it's like the scary music from The Exorcist comes on, isn't it? It's just like, what do you mean? Money that's not paper, how is it real? It just scares everybody. They don't understand. Within 100 miles of me right now, I bet you 99% of the people I ask about Bitcoin, they'll say either, isn't that dead, isn't that a scam, or they'll just be blank. That's what we need to change. And the only way we're going to change that is together. Everybody.
Right. And that's what I've been saying of late. I've been saying that for us to grow as a community, we have to work together and not try to, cut each other and say, this is a scam. And sometimes it is a scam. Now let's not kid each other. But at the end of the day, there are legitimate coins out there. But Bitcoin has not done a great job at consumer awareness at all. There's really. We have
quite the opposite. Almost. We've been running a late show that has a little bit of conspiracy in it, and we've even suggested that some of the powers that be right now, because either one, they don't like crypto, two, they want in crypto, which I think that's what it is. And they are using their money powers to continue to drive prices down, to make mock thefts. We don't know on the last theft that happened if those coins were really deposited into the initial persons that they have just to make more bad news for Bitcoin. We have no idea. There is nobody who is accountable right now for the loss of coins. And in my conversation with Mike Laurie told me that Bitcoin was never designed to be stolen. It was designed to be completely the opposite, but now it's just being stolen everywhere for the last year.
Right. Well, okay. So I kind of have a different opinion from everyone else. Okay. So in terms of let's take one thing at a time. So the pricing. I'm not so sure about the powers that be that are dumping it down. What I think is that Bitcoin is a victim of its own success. You're having more companies now accepting it. So when those companies accept Bitcoin and then they convert it to fiat, there's no one really here now to buy those coins because there's still not a lot of people that know about Bitcoin. So the demand for Bitcoin is not really there. So you have Microsoft now, you have PayPal, you have all these different companies that are now accepting Bitcoin, but they're not going to hold those Bitcoins. They're going to convert those Bitcoins every night into fiat and then convert that, convert it to fiat and then cash that out. They're not going to keep those Bitcoins. And that's what I think we are seeing now. We're seeing these large corporations converting their Bitcoins. Now, in terms of demand, I do believe eventually there are going to be people that are going to really start to grasp crypto and fall in love with it. And then we're going to have that demand come in. And once we have that demand come in, we're going to start to see those prices increase, not just with Bitcoin, but with other coins as well. Because just like there's the euro and there's the dollar and there's the franc, we're going to have that. We're going to have, coins that people just love. And it's not just going to be Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm just not of the people who think that just this huge conspiracy that's just trying to destroy Bitcoin. I do think there are people out there that want to slow it down. But the current pricing is just the product of its own success. It's just companies dumping it. That's it.
Oh, indeed. One of my big disputes, arguments, or opinions, the conversion of Bitcoin, this is going to sound weird. I talk about sometimes how Bitcoin's like a virus to me. And it's the first engineered virus. It's designed to destroy fiat. At some point, the fiat will be stacked in our government holdings, and it won't be in circulation as much, so it'll be all crypto. And right now, what's happening is Bitcoin, the virus, is kind of losing because it's the fiat that is being converted and people are just throwing Bitcoins back into the system. So the system that I want to work, where it's going to slowly become more and more powerful in circulation, is actually being defeated by the adoption that we're seeing in these big, huge businesses. But that's, you really struck a note when you said something about, and you didn't say the word hype, but when things hype with people who have nothing to do with Bitcoin again, we're going to see surges all across the board, because then that supply of Bitcoin that keeps being dumped is going to be purchased again by people who are speculating. We are really the first round of speculators. We are in the birthing age of something that we don't even really understand yet, other than we just really hope that this system takes, because being an early adopter in anything is good.
Right. Absolutely. And I just want to touch a bit on the other point that you're making about the coins recently being stolen. That's right. When Bitcoin was first created, it was obviously created to be decentralized. Well, it's really not decentralized when you think about it with the exchanges and everything. When we trade coins, we're still trading it on a centralized platform. So that's why it still makes it very easy to steal Bitcoins, because where we're trading at, they're being stored on these wallets in big bulk, and these guys are coming in and they're taking the coins. Now, a lot of times I do believe they're inside jobs, and they're just saying, oh, well, we were hacked, and I just don't see all these companies that are just getting hacked. I do believe a lot of it is just inside jobs, to be very honest with you.
Well, the latest news about empty, not empty, it's empty Gox. Empty as an emptying out your pail. Latest news there is, that was an inside job, and it's like, wow, that was a no-brainer.
Right.
Who didn't know that on your and my level of involvement in crypto, that wasn't an inside job?
Right. And most of them, if you think about it, with the MintPal, it was the same thing. It was an inside job.
MintPal. I forgot all about MintPal.
Think about it. And I tell people all the time.
CoinEx.pw is gone too.
There's quite a few of them that's vanished over the year.
Well, I'm sure that you were probably trading at the same places that I was when only 4 or 5 places existed. And I think out of those 4 or 5 that exist, only one of them's around, and that's Cryptsy. And that's the one that everybody said was going to die, you know?
Right. Yeah, Cryptsy is probably the only one that's left from the original 6, if I'm not mistaken. You have BitTrex as well. Now, but that came afterwards. Yeah, I tell people all the time, try not to leave so many coins on the exchange. You have people that leave tens of thousands of coins on the exchange, and I tell them all the time, don't do that. Download the wallet. When you want to trade, move some coins over, trade, move back, but don't leave all your coins on exchange. But people still choose to do that. And this is an unregulated market, and there is no, unfortunately, there's no penalties. And there's no recourse. So it's like you're taking a risk when you leave thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars worth of coins on exchange. It's just not worth it. Move it to your local wallet, and it's a heck of a lot safer.
So for a gentleman like myself, I actually have a little bit different view on that because, one, I'm a little scared to hold a lot of crypto on my computer. What if I have a hard drive crash? Or what if a hacker somehow gains access to that computer and sends my coins away? And then there's nothing. I know paper wallets are one of the safest means, but they can also come with complications. If you don't know exactly what you're doing and you withdraw wrong for your paper wallet, you're in trouble or something. A few different things in crypto that need to be fixed. But what would you tell someone like me to do with my paranoia of I'm scared of holding a lot of cryptos on my computer?
I would say to buy a very cheap USB drive. That's a solid state drive. Stick it in, encrypt your wallets, and just transfer them to that. And pull it out and put it in storage someplace. Put it in the safe someplace, and you're good to go.
Which is only as good as your last backup of the amount of coins that you had in your wallet. So you have to continue to do those backups on a daily or monthly basis, right?
Well, not necessarily. If you're using the same address and you have a backup of it, when you load that wallet up on another computer, it's going to have the same amount of coins. It's really, no coins are really stored in your wallet. It's just the address and then the reference to those coins or whatever. And that's where people kind of get confused at. There's actually never any coins that are really stored in your wallet. That's kind of a myth. It's just, you have that address. So if I have that wallet backed up and then I'm, transferring coins to that same address, as long as it's the same address, if I load that wallet someplace else, it's still going to have the same amount of coins, whether it was, plugged in or not plugged in. But that's what I would say. I would say to put it on the drive and just put it in a safe someplace. But the worst thing you can ever do is leave too many coins on an exchange, because the exchange can just one day just disappear, just out the blue. We're closing down. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I know you cautioned all of us about holding the coin you've designed over on the exchange, and I'm first thing that comes out of my mind is when more coins are on an exchange, whoever's playing with the markets can see the volumes, they can understand how much is there, and that determines how far they can push or pump and dump a coin. I know that's maybe a strange statement, but when it's all in people's personal wallets, they can't tell as much, so pump and dumps are harder. And on that note, though, I do want, you suffered a little bit of a pump and dump right at the start. And then when I analyze things, the only reason why that was even possible was because there wasn't even a very large supply of them yet. It was in like the first week or so. So, of course, and this is the same occurrence you see on a lot of different coins. And people, once they're going to catch on a little bit, they might be a bit more cautious of, do I jump in and invest now, or do I wait a month or two to see what this is really all about?
Right. I think almost all coins suffer the same thing, and it's a free market. There's nothing I can do or anyone else can do about that. There are going to be people that's going to come in, they're going to pump it, they're going to try to get as much as they can out of the coin, they're going to sell, and they're going to move on. And I knew that was going to happen with ByteCent, and that happens with every coin. But what I was hoping for, and I'm still hoping for, is us bringing in new people that are going to see ByteCent for what it is, start to buy it, and hold it. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people like that. It's not just there for the daily trading. And there are going to be people that's going to daily trade. And that's fine, too, because that creates volume, and that's healthy for trading. But the pumps and dumps is just part of any market, whether it's Forex, whether it's the stock market, and whether it's crypto. It's just part of the market. It's nothing anyone can do about that at this point.
Well, I got a listener question here real quick that maybe you'll be able to answer, because you're a coin dev. I'm not a coin dev. Says, how do light wallets work? How do they know the balances without knowing the whole blockchain?
I'm sorry, what's the question again? White wallets?
How do light wallets work? Now we're starting to see, because...
Oh, light wallets. I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
The lighter side of them. Not the Litecoin, but a wallet such as Doge has a light wallet, so now it's not such a huge thing to download or to get the blockchain. So what the listener's question is that how do the light wallets work? How do they know that the balances how do they know your balance without knowing the whole blockchain? Right? Because even I have a Litecoin wallet on my phone, and there's no way the blockchain's on it. Same as I have mycelium. There's no way the whole blockchain's there. How do they do that? How do they know? And I think that you were talking about it a little bit already, that your coins aren't really in your wallet. They're in the blockchain.
Right. Well, it depends. It depends on which one you're talking about, because some of them, how they work is they store the blockchain on a remote server, and it connects to it that way. It's not downloading the entire blockchain. So some guys do it differently, but how I know how it's done, and we kind of thought about doing it that way, but then it doesn't make it decentralized anymore. It becomes centralized, but it's stored remotely. And so you don't have to download the entire blockchain. Me personally, I don't have a problem with the blockchain being downloaded, but as time goes on and the blockchain starts to get bigger, and you could kind of have the blockchain bloat, you might end up with 10, 20, in the future maybe 30 gigs. But then the argument to that is, hard drives are going to, continue to get bigger and bigger, so it's not that big of an issue. But that's kind of how it
bandwidth
works.
On our internet, though, our internet bandwidth,
right.
I have not seen anybody really go into compression of any of the crypto stuff that's going on. I'm sure those days will come to ease a little bit of bandwidth of what's going on. I actually got another listener question, and because we were talking about pump and dumps, and I was going to mention it a minute ago, is the XPY, the pay coin. I didn't talk about pump and dumps. like here's a scenario very much like Euro, maybe very different than Euro, but the same valuations and a similar type pump and dump. It crushed people, and I've been told that people are still blindly thinking that will return to $20 again.
No. Well, okay. So I would like to say this. The problem with crypto is the community itself. And I hate to say this, and I'm going to have a lot of people that's upset, but when you have a coin like Bitcoin, and they come out and they promise a $20 floor, that should be a red flag right there, that no one can promise a floor. I mean, Google could not promise a floor, and they're a major corporation. So when someone comes out and they say, well, we're going to have a $20 floor, that should be a red flag. And I think a lot of people knew that was false. But they went in and, it was a gamble. Now, I can say this. If the community stays with it, if the community, do what they're supposed to do in terms of getting it out there, trying to get merchant adoption or whatever, the community can then build that coin up to where it can be one day, a $15 coin and even maybe a $20 coin.
But wouldn't you say that we're seeing a lot of unsustainable prices? There's not enough buyers. Is one of my arguments.
And that's why I said, and that's why I said one day. Right, and that's why I said one day. I think with all the coins, see, the problem is in the beginning, when you think about it, in the beginning there was just a few coins. So it was more sustainable back then because there was just a few coins to buy into. So it was quite a few buyers. There was quite a lot of volume. There was more exchanges. So everyone were able to go into Doge, or they were able to go into Litecoin. They were able to go into Ripple, and quite a few coins that were there. Right. Yeah. But then we had this explosion of all these different coins in the last, 12 months, where
2000.
Yeah, it's so many coins out there, and the amount of coins that are out there, like you said, it's just not sustainable. So you have people jumping from one coin to another coin, and the money is not being concentrated into just a few coins where you have that constant support. So I think, and that's why it goes back to what I said, that it's kind of the community's fault, where if we just start supporting the legitimate coins, the coins that are really trying to make that difference, we won't see as much of the pump and then the huge jump. I mean, I hate to say it, but Paycoin, that was just bad. That was really bad, and there's quite a few people who got hurt by that. But you should have seen that coming. I mean, that was just, and people who really know crypto knew that was going to just fall hard.
I bought my first Paycoin yesterday, if that tells you something.
I haven't really. The only coin that I've bought besides ByteCent is Bitcoin. That's it. I haven't bought any other coin since I've launched ByteCent.
So you're not playing, because a lot of the listeners, and there's some, they know you because of Twitter and because of Twitter predictions. So you were trading in other coins, but now you're avoiding trading, and you're honestly, you're not in any coin at all. Just remaining with Bitcoin, Litecoin, I would presume, and ByteCent, of course.
Not even Litecoin, just ByteCent and Bitcoin,
and no speculation on anything.
Yeah, this is the reason why, and that's why I say a lot of people out there, they just don't know me. When I'm focused on something, I stay focused on it, and I'm very focused on ByteCent. I don't have time to sit around and trade and look at charts and all that stuff. It was fun last year, and it was great. But now I'm really buckling down because I want to have a coin that is a serious contender.
But you offered us tips in the past. You actually offered us tips in the past, right? So right now, presumably, you're saying that you may not return to do that. But I'm going to ask you a completely different question. What about the rush of it? Don't you miss the rush of all of that happening?
No, because I get the rush of knowing that we can have a coin that could one day rival the top coins out there. So that's, for me, that's even a bigger rush, because there's quite a few people that are negative about ByteCent and really want to see ByteCent fail. And
it's not the only coin that people are negative about.
And competition is great. I believe in competition. Competition is great.
Exactly. So what is a monopoly? It's nothing. Monopolies are distrustful, distasteful, and usually end up in an unhappy civilization.
Right, absolutely. So I think competition is great. So when people criticize ByteCent and they say, oh, it's going to fail, it's not going to do well, I could feed off of that stuff. But I can't really, I would be doing my community and the people who are behind ByteCent a disservice if I'm focusing on other cryptocurrencies and not focusing on, the job of getting ByteCent where it needs to be. So to answer to your question is, no, I don't miss it at all. I'll leave the trading for you guys, and I'll focus on ByteCent.
So you're not going to well, we can't, it's hard to say never. That's one thing for sure. But in particular right now, it's speculation. I don't know, like I said, maybe when you see everything bubbling again and hype rolling, maybe we'll see your tips being returned to Twitter once again.
No. The only tips that I will give, it won't be on buying a coin, but it will definitely be on, like, okay, if I see an exchange that's about to go belly up, I will definitely tell people it's time to move your coins. Or if I hear something that I think it's going to benefit the community, I'll definitely tweet stuff like that.
So let me ask you then,
sure,
why did you offer your advice about coins?
Well, really, because I felt that quite a few people just don't know what they're doing in terms of trading. Because at that point, and still now, a lot of the coins that are being created, they're just not really coins that you're going to hold for a long period of time. You kind of get in, you make your money and leave. And that's why I said that the community has a lot to blame for all of this, and including myself, honestly, because if we're going in and we know that we're going to hold a coin for X amount of days and sell it, then there's no longevity there. And that's one of the reasons why I won't participate in that anymore, because I'm looking now for the community to get together and just start supporting coins that are legitimate and that can, stand the test of time. So not just ByteCent. I mean, there's quite a few coins out there that deserve that attention. Verycoin, Gilded Coin. I hate to say it, maybe even Blackcoin.
Blackcoin's good. Blackcoin's good. I'm good with Blackcoin too. Hey, they were the first multi-pool out there. Right. That was innovation. They brought something to the table that nobody else had, and it continued to make crypto change. There's nothing wrong with having a black coin out there.
Right. No. But you know the history with me and black coin, so that's why.
Somewhat. I really stand in the dark on a lot of subjects. I do. Really? Like yes, I see them as news, and I don't like to dip into them because I like to walk down the middle of the fence and look and see what they're doing on the right and what they're doing on the left. And I try not to have an opinion negative or positive towards either side. It's a strange, different thing. It's lacking empathy, I guess.
Right. Well, that's good. It's good that you kind of stay neutral. That's great.
And being a dweller, or if you dwell on things, you should maybe stop trading and just put your money in investment, Bitcoin, buy, hold for a long time. Because the moment you reminisce or you feel bad, you can't trade. It'll ruin everything for you.
Right. Well, now I wouldn't tell people to do that, though. Like, I wouldn't tell people to buy Bitcoin and hold it because it's too unstable at this point. I would tell people that if you're really going to get into a coin, you find a coin that you really love and that you think has potential and get into that coin. I have to tell you, I'm one of those people who think that Bitcoin gets way too much attention. And we have all these other cryptocurrencies, and I don't like calling them altcoins. I really just see, these other cryptocurrencies out there that are better in a lot of ways than Bitcoin. But these corporations, they are supporting Bitcoin and kind of ignoring all these other coins that are just as good and have just as much potential as Bitcoin. So I tell people all the time that if you're going to get into crypto, kind of look at the other coins, like you talked about earlier, Doge. There are people out there that kind of laugh at that community and they joke about that coin, but they are doing a lot of things right. And going back to the NASCAR, I just thought that was a stroke of genius. But we are all cryptocurrencies are facing the thing of, we're kind of being traded against Bitcoin. And I have a huge gripe about that because we put Bitcoin at the top, and all of the other coins are basically, their value is based on that. And I would love for these exchanges, and some are starting to do it now, like Cryptsy, for example. But I would love these exchanges to kind of get away from that and start comparing it or trading it against fiat. And kind of get away from that whole, having Bitcoin as the main currency, and then we're trading against that, because it's unfair to all the other cryptocurrencies out there.
Well, wouldn't it be nice to just see oil trading against Bitcoin and then the world just getting real?
It's going to happen. It is going to happen. It's going to happen.
We can feel it.
I guarantee it's going to happen.
Probably going to be the commodity that is going to be of choice, because trading Bitcoin against gold sounds scary because our governments are really good at hiding all their gold or telling us they have more than they're supposed to.
Right. But it's going to happen. Bitcoin against commodities or crypto against commodities, it's going to happen.
Could you imagine if right now that they started initializing in this big oil slump, oil directly trading with Bitcoin? We would see tons of Bitcoin money rolling at oil. I'm sure we would. There's no doubt to me at all. And it's those kind of things that disappoint me the most, right? In a world of I say this quite often, in a world of text messaging and going for a drive and wondering if you're going to die or live. When we should be innovating, we have these machines that kill us on these streets, but we can't innovate our world. We can't have my love for the bad driver system, so you can press a button and zap that bad driver so that there'll be a little point on their license, and so that when you get near them, your phone will go off and say, look, there's a bad driver coming, right? But why? I live in an imaginary perfect world, of course, and those things just aren't happening, and it upsets me. Like right now, Bitcoin to oil trading would be incredible. Well, a big change of surface for us, too, because then oil money would come back into Bitcoin as well.
Well, think about this for a second. Look at the Winklevoss twins and what they're doing, and basically trying to take it to another level in terms of the trading. There are a lot of hedge funds and things like that are paying attention to this. So that's why I said that we're going to see commodities traded against Bitcoin very soon. And I would even go as to say within the next 24 months we're going to see that. Wall Street is going to get into Bitcoin. They are going to get into cryptocurrencies because this is a Wall Street dream right here. I think people are just waiting to they love to be able. Sure, go ahead.
This is a terrible thing to say, but as soon as Wall Street can start using Bitcoin, they will literally tunnel all the way to Mexico to make sure that the cocaine gets there. To New York, that is. Because now they can send the money back easy. Bitcoin, click, woo. They love cocaine. What can I say? It's Wall Street. Unless the movie that we saw just totally fluffed it. But you know what? I live in a remote place. And not to be on a big topic about drugs, though. Wow, cocaine has infected our society. It's everywhere. Right. It's awful.
Right. Yeah, what you heard about Wall Street in terms of the drugs and the prostitutes and stuff like that from the movie that you're talking about in the 80s and the 90s is definitely spot on. And it still happens now, but it's just not as rampant as it was 2 decades ago, or even a decade ago. But I can say that Wall Street loves to trade things that don't have real value behind it, more or less. And Bitcoin is Wall Street's wet dream. I can tell you that.
So do you ever wonder if some of them are already partaking in Bitcoin activities? So I understand there's laws to make sure that they cannot touch cryptocurrencies right now, that it is a federal law that they're not allowed to dabble with crypto.
Right. See, that's the thing. Yes and no. On a individual level, yes, and I'm sure there are some groups out there that are just Wall Street guys that are doing it, but they're waiting for the regulation. They're waiting to see where this goes in terms of the government and how it's going to be regulated. But you're gonna start seeing these really savage guys that's going to find ways around the law, and they're going to just jump in. And once you see that, say again. I'm sorry.
Bit license.
Oh yeah.
I actually call it bit. It's bit lies to me, but that's fine. I'd like to know what you think of bit license.
Gosh, you're asking me. You're gonna get me in trouble, man. You're really gonna get me in trouble.
If you want to avoid talking about bit license, right now, my opinion on it is it's just something there to make the middleman rich. The gentleman who's going to be taking $20 million in fiat and turning it into Bitcoin, it is just to make him rich, because he's going to be sitting there and somebody's going to go, I need to buy Bitcoin and I need to spend $10 million, and only one guy is going to be able to sell it. And then one guy another 30 blocks over there has a bit license. And then, that guy out there has one. No, as soon as we impose that kind of regulations, we create another middleman money-making scheme. To me, it just seems like a money scheme.
And it goes totally against what crypto is about. And that's the problem. That's why I said you're going to get me in trouble, because it's New York, and I honestly, I mean, you just hit it right there, and I think people know that. I can tell you though, I don't see that taking off, because really, at the end of the day, we control this. The community controls this, and you can't really regulate cryptocurrencies the way people think you're going to be able to regulate it, because just like the internet, you can't really regulate the internet. And it's the same thing with cryptocurrencies. But all the governments are going to have to be on board with this. Like, every government is going to have strict regulations, and that's just not going to happen. So, these attempts to really regulate Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is just going to fall short. I believe that. But at the same time,
if it starts working properly, though, I think what's happened is, and by speaking to Mike Laurie about how Bitcoin was never intended to be able to be stolen. I've said that before earlier in the program. That in a culture and society that materialism was different, and that we didn't desire to have that fancier car than our neighbor, there would be rare to no need to have any policing of the currency. So really what I'm saying is that cryptocurrency kind of demands trust and honesty. Because right now, if you send me 20 Bitcoins and I say, I'm going to send you 5 billion XPY coins, that once I send the Bitcoins to you and you don't send me my coins, no police officer, no federal agency, nothing can really make heads or tails of it, especially cross country. We've seen a few things happening down in the States right now with Bitcoin scams, like the BFL thing, which I don't think was a scam. I'm not really sure, but I do know that Butterfly Labs was just reopened, and people are going to get their refunds and stuff.
Right.
Were you aware? Did you see that news subject come across?
Yeah, I saw that as well. I have mixed feelings about that whole situation. I hate calling things a scam and not know for sure, but it was really fishy. But if people are going to get their refunds, then it's good. But
I got a funny story actually to tell you about BFL. Sure. The gentleman who got me involved in crypto, he bought one of the first BFL machines. I think it was like 2 gigahashes or something. Something small. It wasn't very big. Or maybe it was one of those 20 gigahash, those little cubes. But anyways, the point is that he bought 2 of them. He pre-ordered them. He waited forever. As soon as he got them, and they cost him quite a bit of money because those were expensive at the start, he sold them right away on eBay. He actually sold them for like $12,000 each.
Wow.
I am not joking.
Wow.
He's also the same gentleman who made how much money did he make off that? It was funny when we were bombing in crypto, and he's like, "Oh, what coin would you buy, Rick?" And I'm like, "Oh, buy some Litecoins." And he's like, "Yeah, I got $60,000." So he bought $60,000 of them at $3.25, and when he sold them out at the $50 peak, he made $130,000. He's also an accountant that lives in California. I believe he's like 23 years old right now. So when he withdrew all that money, he told me that the government took about $27,000 or something from him in tax or somehow, and he owns now a house for the first time at such a young age in California. He just can't believe that he did that. So there's all kinds of strange success stories like that.
Yeah. I think crypto in general has put a lot of money in people's pockets in the last year, and I talk about that all the time. It's good.
What about the wrong hands, though? Like we did talk a little bit about the pump and dumps and how things were going along, but I actually have an absurd, strong, different opinion that what has happened is I was tipped in August that the whales had a plan to destroy a whole bunch of the dolphins. And they've succeeded, actually. It was Cloakcoin. They destroyed a lot of people's money. And so now I think that the reason why we're seeing such a slowdown is because all the money went to whales, people who just turn it back into fiat. And that's what we're seeing right now is sell-offs and sell-offs and sell-offs. And that eventually they will come back into crypto and they will stimulate it again because, you know what, once you put your finger in once, you're not going to keep it out, especially when it doesn't get bitten, right?
Right. But right. I have a difference of opinion. And the only reason why I have a difference of opinion is because I was kind of deep in behind the scenes with a lot of the developers, and they would contact me, ask me questions. First off, many of the coins, and even still today, are created by the same people. The same group of people over and over again. Okay, that's one. A lot of these people live in countries where, I said it before, they're either developing countries or they're countries where there's not a lot of money, to be made. So this was a way for them to get rich, in a way, And when I mean get rich, we're not talking like really get rich. We're talking a few $100,000, dollars.
Yeah, which is
a lot in some of these countries.
In one of those countries, that probably is rich, actually.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. And you are. No wonder was the desire to come out of those countries to rip us all off.
And that's exactly what happened. So these guys, they would create these coins and create a lot of hype behind it, and they became very good at this. And then once they got that money, they would convert it to fiat and pull that money out. So that's where you saw a lot of that money being siphoned out of our ecosystem. Then people got frustrated. A lot of the traders got frustrated because they lost money, and they decided to just quit. And I have a lot of associates. I call them crypto associates who've left crypto. So it's not really a conspiracy in terms of a bunch of whales who say, we're going to get rid of the dolphins, or we're going to get rid of the guppies, and we're going to control this. It's just you had a lot of scammers that came in and created these crap coins, these coins that never were going to go anywhere, and they siphoned all that money out. The good news is now people are becoming more savvy, and as a community, if we kind of get together and just stop investing in these crap coins once again and start investing in coins.
But how are you going to stop that thrill? It's going to be hard to stop the thrill of the hunt.
Right, and that's the thing. It's just because it's kind of like gambling. It's that feeling that you get when you gamble in the rush. But then it goes back to you can't complain when a coin goes 5-10 times and then it dumps down to basically nothing. You can't complain because it becomes then a game of chicken. And I've said that quite a few times in the past where you're trading crypto, it's a game of chicken. Who's going to start selling first? How high are you going to go before you start selling? So that's what we're seeing. We've seen it with Paycoin, and we're seeing it with all these other coins that I call them the flavor of the week or the flavor of the month coin. These are coins that are never going to really go anywhere unless the community decides, you know what, we're going to stick behind it. Yeah, I mean, really, Paycoin could do well over time if the community stays with it and starts to build the infrastructure.
What's your opinion on Paycoin made somebody rich, or gave somebody a lot of capital to continue operating in new ways in the crypto sphere?
Definitely.
It did.
It absolutely did. It was from what I understand, it was heavily pre-mined, and
3.5 million units. Was that what I read? That was my caution.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if that was right. 3.5 million coins. Wasn't that what I read? That was pre-mined. Maybe I'm probably wrong.
I've heard quite a few numbers out there, and so I'm not gonna speculate. I really don't know at the end of the day how many was pre-mined. I just know that they said it was significantly pre-mined. I can go so far as to say that. That's if it is 3 million plus, that's just way too many coins. So you're absolutely right when you say someone or quite a few people got rich off of that. But that doesn't mean that the coin is dead, though. It just means that the community kind of
rich is a really strange word. Rich in another country, like you said, $200,000. Rich in North America, if you're not passing 35 million, it's just not rich. And so basically what I said is it gave him or some individuals the ability to have working capital to hopefully bring us more stuff. There's also going to be a bunch of people who are now sitting on a beach drinking martinis.
But it's there's quite a few people in crypto in general that's done that. There was an individual that took pictures. I'm not going to say the coin, but it was an individual that took pictures of champagne and was in a robe, and he had a blast after kind of like running away with everyone's money. And that's crypto. It's like the Wild Wild West. But if a few of the developers that I know for a fact that are hardworking, that really want to get their coins to the level of Bitcoin, and they're out there every day doing what they're supposed to do, eventually we're gonna see this kind of taper down. It's kind of like the internet bubble, when you had all these companies that are just coming out of nowhere, and a lot of these guys were too young to even remember that. But you had all these tech companies, and they were getting tens of millions to sometimes even a couple $100 million worth of dollars, and it was going into some of the dumbest ideas that, I mean, it was just crazy. And eventually that bubble just happened. That tech bubble just popped. And I think, we're still there, and I think we're going to have another one before people just say, okay, the heck with this. We're going to just start investing in the real coins. But I think we're getting there now. We had the proof of developer. If you remember, in the beginning, all the developers were basically staying anonymous, which made it a heck of a lot easier to do these scams. Now we have the proof of developer. It's not perfect, but it's a step. Eventually, when these coins launch, we're going to have more transparency. But that still is not going to stop scams. It's going to come down to the community really doing their due diligence and really just investing in projects that are serious.
Chris is actually on my list of people to interview. He's quite adamant about trying to make a change in crypto, to innovate things with at least a little bit of research towards each developer, and then releasing his findings. I know it's not a perfect system by any means, but it gives people something else to look at, for sure. I actually have another listener question. This is a very off-topic. It's a very broad question. He's asking us, what was the hardest part of programming work developing a new crypto coin?
I would say, well, like let's say for ByteCent, coming up with something that was different and that was useful. I mean, I can't speak for any other developer, but I can tell you for ByteCent just coming up with something that was going to be useful, that was going to make mining easy, but also sustainable in terms of like someone not just being able to come in and hack up a new wallet and just dominate the system. There are quite a few people out there who said that that's what was done or whatever, but no, that's just not true.
Do you think there's a possibility in the future that new hardware will be developed specifically to mine the coin that you made?
Anything is possible. I would never say never. Anything is possible. The thing is, with closed source, you can kind of combat stuff like that. When someone comes out with a hack or someone comes out with something, like you said, some hardware or whatever, you can kind of offset it and encode something and release it. So that's the benefits of closed source. Now, we've gotten flack about that because, once again, it goes against the spirit of crypto. But I felt like there has to be some things you have to do differently, and sometimes that kind of goes against the original concept. And one of those things being closed source, because we wouldn't have been able to really do the download sites the way we wanted to do the download sites, and the mining the way that we're doing the mining.
If you didn't have a closed core, if you had open sourced your coin, you would not be allowed on those download sites that you're on?
No. Of course you could, but if you know what we're doing, we're monetizing the installs, and there's a reason behind that. And I've said this on my podcast. A lot of times you have these developers, right? And they will either pre-mine the coin, or they'll have the community donate coins to them, or they'll do an ICO or something like that, buy their own coins. And then what happens is, after some time, they run out of coins because they're either selling their coins, they are using it for development or whatever, and they run out of coins. So once you run out of coins and you don't have any coins coming in, it basically becomes a hobby for you, and they get interested and move on. This is if it's totally legit and it's not a scam. So I knew right off the bat that there has to be revenue coming in that's separate from the coins and separate from the value of the coin. And that's what people haven't just gotten yet about ByteCent, that ByteCent has revenue streams coming in that's totally separate. So whether ByteCent is worth 10 cents or whether ByteCent is worth $10, we have separate revenue streams. And part of that is the download sites and people downloading, installing, and getting revenue from that. So having open source kind of, we could still do it, but it kind of ties one hand behind our back in terms of the download sites. Now, in terms of the mining, we definitely could not do open source based on what we're doing, allowing everyone to solo mine and trying to avoid the pools and the server farms and all that stuff. So,
yes, you've done something completely different. Like it's like Bitcoin 2.0, which maybe that's kind of bad to say on that, but it is. You've really created almost, everybody shadows everything. We talk about a little bit how saying every coin's trying to replace Litecoin, which is market cap impossible right now, in my opinion. It's just never going to happen. A trading partner against Bitcoin. It's just like gold is to cash and oil is to the US dollar. Not happening. But what you have created is something that in 5 years, that 10 years could be, if Bitcoin slides away or starts working in a different manner, being a commodity index, means of transporting the stock value when purchased on Forex. I have a dream again that I think Bitcoin will never be used by us in the future. You won't be able to touch one. So if you do have one right now, treat it like gold, because there will be a day and time if they do a recall on Bitcoin like they did to gold, and the government owns all of the Bitcoin, all we're going to be left with is Litecoin. And people think that's impossible, but I know it's not impossible, because if you look what's going on right now, it almost is as if that is already happening.
Well, once again, I will never say never, but technology-wise, that's kind of tough. because it's not a proof of stake coin. So I mean, there's always going to be people that's going to be mining it, and it could be mined for quite some time. So it'll be very hard to be able to kind of like control most of or all of the Bitcoin. I just can't see that happening. I can see that more happening with a proof of stake coin, because they're not really being generated. But then really, even with a proof of stake coin, you still have the interest being generated. So coins are still in a sense being generated, just not at the rate of a coin that's being mined. Honestly, I can't really see that happening now. Maybe someone can dispute me on that, but it'll be really tough to pull that off. But I just want to go back to ByteCent really quick, and then we can move on to something else. We're 2 months into it, and people are still able to solo mine. People are still able to get a few coins every single day. And like we're the first since Bitcoin to really do that, where people are able to solo mine for such a long time without being dominated by server farms and all that other crap. And we want to keep it that way. So someone that's mining for the very first time can come in without heavy hardware, without some supercomputer, and just on a regular laptop, and just mine a few bytes in. And it's profitable because they don't have to invest in a GPU miner or an ASIC miner, or have to go and rent a miner on some service or whatever. They can just use their computer. So if you mine 20, 30 ByteCent in a couple of weeks, it's all profit to you basically. So
I would caution people actually to not sell their ByteCent. I've been in this a long time. If you're mining right now and you're selling right now, if you're trying to benefit yourself by making something, mine it for the next 6 to 9 to 10 months, and you're a spare little bit, buy a little bit. Much like what we're doing with the DogeCoin. Now, I don't want to talk about Doge yet, so we're going to avoid that. But what I want to bring up right now is the Litecoin gear thing, because you mentioned people renting servers out there and then getting downright screwed, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if I've been screwed on it or not yet. I know some people who have bought a lot of really big machines. I know payments today again have not happened. I don't know if you're following LTC gear, and I'd like to know your feelings on that thing that's carrying on right now, because LTC gear, my understanding is a hardware developer, makes inadvertently super fast Litecoin miners that are not to be released to the public, and then he mines them bigger and faster than anybody else, and then is able to offer shares in his system. And then speaking with Andrew, the mage, he told me that there is definitely significant evidence that there's been some very interesting hashing power hit the Litecoin network and then back off it again. And like what Andrew expressed to me, and I know this, when he says it was a big farm, he's not joking. And I know and I understand what's kind of going on, but how do you feel? Andrew says, yes, there's probably hardware behind LTC gear, but nobody's been getting payouts. Is it just another Ponzi scheme? Is it just a delay from the developer? Do you even have an opinion on it?
I don't have an opinion on it because I really haven't been following it. I can say this though. When you talk about like the hash in the network, it's very easy with a coin that's mineable to see when a server farm comes on the network and starts dominating. It's very easy to see that. But in terms of having an opinion, I don't have an opinion on it because I haven't really been following it. But so have you been dealing with this in terms of like, have you rented or like what have you been
Yes,
doing?
I'll tell you what my experience is, because it's quite funny actually, and it leads into our next topic. So I spent 1.25 Bitcoin. I got a 1,000 Q hash shares, which is an equivalent to a 100 mega hash computer or ASIC system. I got my payouts for 3 weeks. It generated approximately 50 Litecoins. I am not even halfway to the ROI. and I haven't had a payout in 4 weeks. I know other people have had a payout 4 weeks ago, and then it stopped, and they didn't get a payouts for the last 3 weeks. Not sure how correct that is, but so there you have it. I basically invested in something. I don't know whether I've lost a half a Bitcoin approximately, but instead what I did is I said, screw this. I'm going to take all of my kicks and I'm going to crypto double it. That's our next subject. Crypto double. And you know what? 100 Litecoins popped out about 3 days ago, and I've made my ROI from LTC gear.
Wow.
This is
crypto double. Yeah. I can talk about crypto double, and I'm going to make some enemies here. But crypto double is another problem with crypto.
I still have IconicExpert with me right here on Dougherty Radio. We're going to be back talking to you about cryptos in general in just the next 10 or 15 minutes. We're just taking a quick break to discuss a few subjects to speak to you guys about. Remember to keep your popcorn close and keep your radio on. Right here on the Dougherty with Rick and guest host, IconicExpert. And I'm back with IconicExpert here on the Dougherty. We've been chatting for a little bit, just trying to figure out a few different subjects that we want to go over with you guys and getting to know each other a little bit, which kind of helps our conversation. So we finally moved to talk about Dougherty coin. And your last question to me was, how do you spell it? And it's really interesting that you even asked that question, because there's a few things behind the whole pronunciation of the coin and the pronunciation of another coin, Doge or Doge. I call it Doge. Maybe it's because I'm Canadian. You know, that's the Doge. It's not the Doge, because it sounds kind of strange to me. So, Dougherty is spelled D-O-G-E-D. Did I get that right? It's like, holy crap. Did I get that right? Yeah, I did. D-O-G-E with a D. So the enunciation that we have worked out is Doge, because Canadian says Doge. There's some Dougherty people, they pronounce it Dougherty or something to that nature. But to me, it's a Doge and an E and a D. So when you say that really fast, you get Dougherty. Dougherty. A little bit easier to say Dougherty than it is to try and pronounce each ED at the end. So that's Dougherty. This is a darknet coin, a coin that, and a subject matter that we have not even discussed tonight, is anonymous coins, coins that don't keep records of transactions, coins that you can actually move around without people knowing what IP address it came from, whether this is goodness or badness. But let's not go into that yet. But you don't know about it because what you've told me about, you've been really working hard at your own development, and that has kind of brought you out of the loop on all the new coins.
Well, I have to tell you first, when you said it, I just didn't catch what you were saying. If you would have said,
DogeCoinDark,
yes, I would have known exactly what you were talking about, because before I started ByteCent, I actually got into that coin a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, that was one of the last ones that I invested in for a little bit. Let me just look and see really quick. Yeah. No, when did it launch? When did that coin?
My discovery was sometime in October, or maybe a little bit beforehand. I'm not exactly sure exact launch date. Sorry, maybe somebody from one of our listeners will give that to us while we're talking. But I think we're in a 5-month-old stage right now, somewhere around there.
I definitely had a piece of that in the beginning, and if I'm not mistaken, I also tweeted about it. If you would have said DogeCoinDark, I would have known exactly what you're talking about. The anonymous technology. Sure. What's your question?
Well, is it necessary in crypto? Why didn't you? And I know that I told you that we weren't going to talk a lot about ByteCent, but why didn't you look for anonymous technology in your coin? And I think I've already answered that for myself, because you do not believe that it's exactly permittable or needed in crypto.
No, I don't think it's needed, and I also think.
So I want to push this avenue with you then. So if anonymous isn't needed, then if we do enter a crypto verse or bitverse in the future and everybody's using cryptos, if you're a government official and the way the blockchain works right now, you won't really want to be using a coin that people can track when you're going on vacation or buying your milk, because then everybody will know where you buy your milk at. So perhaps anonymous cryptocurrencies have their position in being used in government or in places that really need. Same with big, huge, super large businesses who are doing transactions may not exactly want to have their purchases on the blockchain, and then somebody knows that, oh, wow, that stock's going to go up because somebody spent $2 million, right? Because they've seen it on the blockchain before it happened. So if they use an anonymous coin, they wouldn't know on the, it's called dark pool. And I'm not mean crypto, I mean dark pool, real thing that happens in Forex and commodities, purchases and large ones being done before the markets open. Dark pool.
Right.
So, yes. That said there, though, I have one more example of where anonymous technology will really could take hold, and that's in a lot of talk about voting terminals that use crypto. Again, you could see where anonymous technology is going to be needed to do that kind of thing, because there's different things that can't be revealed while voting.
Right. Well, you also got to look at the counterpoint to that, the flip side. So let's look at merchants, for example. It's going to be very difficult to do that. If you're going to have a coin that's anonymous in terms of the merchants and the government, because they're going to want some type of accountability. So to have a coin that's completely anonymous, you might get pushback from merchants. I see your view on this and why you feel that it's necessary for in some circumstances, but then we have to look at it as, like I said before, that we're going to have different cryptocurrencies that do different things. For me, I don't need anonymous technology. I don't care if people know where I buy my milk and how much milk I'm buying. I have no concerns about that whatsoever, but someone may have those concerns, and then that's why they would use, DogeCoinDark, or, they would use Dark Coin, or, one of the other anonymous coins. That's why I do think it's healthy for us to have multiple cryptocurrencies. It's just not healthy for us to have 500 or 600 cryptocurrencies that most of them are just clones of other coins that are just not doing much of anything. But for someone who's super secretive, yeah, I guess it is a benefit for them, just not for the average user.
No, it's definitely far from average user right now. That's but not many people right now, I think, that are left in crypto are average users anymore. It's changed slightly. We've lost a lot of people. But the good news is that you did spot, you did look at, and you did do an initial investment, perhaps. I'm not even sure. So my next question is, what do you think of the 1 Satoshi price with the limited coin supply? And I know that you made a comment about people always think that it should be this price with this many coins, right? And this volume. So it's basically, a lot of us feel like it's on sale right now at 1 Satoshi.
I think any coin, whether it's DogeCoinDark or Panda Coin or whatever, if there is demand for it, meaning, if you have a community behind it and then people are, willing to trade it eventually, as long as there are people that are supporting the coin and that's there, coin can never really truly die. I laugh when people say that. As long as there are people there, whether they're mining a coin, whether they're staking it, proof of stake, or they're supporting the coin, eventually, if you stick with it long enough, you're going to have people that are going to be like, hey, let me take another look at this. Right now, we're in a stage where a lot of the coins are going to get weeded out. They're going to get delisted, and then you're just going to have those coins.
Bittrex list has been strangely changing. It's like even though you're looking at the top 10 of the list on the front or something, I read indexes every day at noon off of Trex, and something strange has occurred to me lately is that there's really only maybe 4 or 5 coins that even belong on that list, and the bouncers that bounce around, it just very strange things are happening. Right now I've pretty much reported XP coin or Paycoin on the top of the list for almost a week, but I don't see it there for much longer. I've looked at just live market data for so long that I can see the trailing off decline, and then who's going to be sitting there at the top next. But we usually have a hard time answering that. But my focus is right now is that there's not a lot of coins that even belong on the front page.
Right, because they go through that pump and dump phase where a lot of people jump in, and it's who's gonna sell first chicken type of thing, and then when people lose interest and people lose money, then the next coin comes along, and you repeat the same process over and over again, and that's what we've been seeing. That's why we don't have the stability that we had 15 months ago. We have these coins that would come out and people would really rally behind them, support them, and do so many different things in terms of trying to get merchant adoption and all that other stuff. So
merchant adoption was a big scam during lots of the coins coming out. Yes, you're right.
Right.
It was huge.
Right.
Like how many of those, you will recall them, how many of those photographs we saw of a cheap looking card and a little USB stick and something else, and we saw like 4 or 5, 10 of those, the exact same thing, promises of merchant payment systems. Well, believe it or not, Dougherty, we have merchant payment systems. We just acquired it here last couple days. So a lot of guys didn't realize while they're trading crypto is that there's going to be also those gateway places where you can go and they'll use your coin as a payment service or in a payment services. But lots of coins scam people out of saying they were going to do that and never did, and the coins are delisted.
Right. And that's one of the things I didn't want to do. Like, I didn't want to come out and make a bunch of promises. I just wanted to be able to say, hey, now we have this, now we have that. And you have all these developers, quote-unquote developers, that say, oh, yeah, we're going to have X, Y, and Z, but they just say that to get the community excited to pump a coin. And then they never deliver, and they move on to something else, and they create multiple coins over and over again. I can tell you for a fact that a lot of the coins that you see are just created by the same people over and over and over again. That's why a lot of the coins, they kind of bear similarities to each other in terms of, like you said, that they would run the same. Oh, we're going to have this merchant service, or we're going to have this payment service, or whatever. It's just the same people over and over again. And proof of developer definitely slowed that down a bit. And I do believe moving forward, this is the one thing I have to say. If you're going to invest in a coin, know the developer. I don't care if you like the developer or the developer's angel or the developer. I don't care. Know the developer. I think that's very important. I think developers need to start showing their faces. This whole thing about staying behind usernames, it just can't fly anymore, because we're talking hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars worth of capital going into these coins. And investing in a coin and you don't know who the heck is behind it, it's just absurd at this point. So I think that's the one thing in crypto we need. The anonymous crowd has to go now in terms of the developers.
But
developers need to be known.
But there is, I'm going to speak out. Actually, I'm going to actually speak out for Darkcoin, and you already know, is that these guys have actually been around for quite a while now. They've been working their asses off, and obviously it looks like they're here to stay. They're not like the fly-by-night coins that disappear in 30 days. So we do kind of, it's easy to entrust them. I mean, I buy dark coins, so people tend to go in just one direction in crypto. Well, I have a kind of thing that I'll do on a weekly basis. It's like, oh, I'm going to go buy a couple dark coins. I don't care what price they're at. I'm going to go buy a couple light coins. I don't care what price they're at. And I'm going to go buy a couple pay coins because they're cheap now, like, or, you know. But otherwise, I'm rather careful. But I go buy all these coins, and it just proves that some of these anonymous groups we can trust, and we can enter with it's the pump and dump mechanism, or the hurrah of, wow, look at this new coin. And outside investors, you know, nobody even knows when devs are to blame. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'd ever point fingers at dark coin devs or black coin devs or moon coin. God rest his soul. It's now a coffin coin. And any other of those kind of coins, because they've been here. They're made a statement. They're here. It's staying. It's not going to go away. So we can't really go, hey guys, you know, we'd like to see who you all are. You know.
Well, I will say to that, and you know, it goes back to, okay, you're right. Those guys did stick around, and there's a few other anonymous devs that stick around. But let's compare that to the dozens or the hundreds of devs that don't stick around and that were scams. So you gotta gotta take the good with the bad, but at the same time, we have to start setting up an environment where people are comfortable with sharing who they are. Because how is a major corporation going to come in and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to start accepting Darkcoin, and they don't even know who the people behind Darkcoin is? That's not.
Well, that could change. That could change, though, for Darkcoin developers when a corporation starts reaching out and says, hey, did you notice that your coin just gained a $35 million market cap? Yes, we're very interested. We're either going to yank all of our money out again and screw you, or if you tell us who you are, there's even bigger payouts coming. You know, money talks, man. Anything can change. It is the future. It isn't written. So we don't know what will happen with groups like that as well, right?
Right. Well, see, but this is the thing, though. Okay, so why should, and I'll ask you this question, why should developers stay anonymous? I mean, what is it to be scared of at this point?
Well, internet's weird.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
What if somebody casts blame at you for developing a coin and then it pumps and dumps from some outside source? Like, you wouldn't really want to be in the line of fire, would you?
Well, I'm in the line of fire every day. I have people blaming me for stuff that I never even had anything to do with or even associated with. People are going to blame you no matter what. But setting up an environment, see, it's this environment that allows many of these scams to happen because people are very comfortable with anonymous developers. That's the issue. Because when you can remain anonymous, then you can do whatever you want to do. You can run your scams, and you can run multiple scams. So for the developer, we're at a point now where developers need to be seen. Now, I see this is another thing that I have an issue with, the word developer. And I'm once again going to piss a few people off here, but you know, when someone says they're a developer to me, I expect them to have some type of coding experience. I expect them to have a grasp of the technology. They don't have to be the best coder in the world, and nor do they need to know everything about Bitcoin and its technology. I don't know everything about Bitcoin and everything about the technology. But you have to have some grasp of the technology and have some knowledge of it. And you have people out here who claim that they're developers, and they're really not developers. So I still always say this. It comes into experience. Would you want to invest in a coin that was being developed by someone who has no clue whatsoever about business or about technology or about Bitcoin? And that's basically what I'm saying is we need to be able to vet developers a little bit more. Because it's very easy to remain anonymous and put all the bells and whistles on a coin and make it look very attractive, and people see this shiny new coin and they just want to go in and invest in it. And it's being done by a 16-year-old kid in a third world country that has no clue what the heck they're doing, but they just were able to trick people in a sense. So that's what I'm saying. I just think we need to kind of get away from this whole anonymous thing, and devs should be vetted a lot more than they currently are.
So we went over that a little bit, and I feel strongly now that I can actually ask you this question. So you really do feel that a lot of the mishaps and the scams that have been committed across crypto are actually coming from mostly underdeveloped countries. That I'm not going to say this so strongly now, that there isn't many scams coming from North America or Canada or Mexico, for that matter, that it's more centralized from overseas countries.
Absolutely, yes. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. You don't have, when you look at the exchanges, for example, that quote unquote were hacked, they were overseas. They were not from North America. They're overseas. When you look at the huge scam coins that we know where the developer came from, they were overseas. They were not from North America. So when people talk about that, I kind of laugh, because I'm not saying that no scams have ever came from North America. Of course, there were few, obviously, but the majority are coming from overseas and a lot of developing countries. And when you can create a coin in 2 or 3 days and have it up there in a week, and have people trading it within 2 weeks, and you make $100,000, where the average income is $15,000. I mean, let's do the math. And that's what was happening all through 2014, where you have these guys that never seen six figures and never would have seen six figures, were creating coins and literally...
We have the Dogedy Dev and we have IconicExpert for you here next. We haven't really been talking about too many critical things, just kind of getting to know each other. I know that we were talking about anonymous technologies, and Iconic was saying that he's not so sure if they were really needed. And that's exactly what we are working on.
Right. Well, I just wanted to clarify, though. As far as developers being anonymous, I think that's a terrible idea. Because then, obviously we'll be stuck in the same cycle forever, where we get pumping up guys and nobody knows who they are, and they jump ship as soon as it gets an exchange, etc. But the reason I think that anonymous technology is important for crypto, as far as the coin is concerned, is because, let's use a real world metaphor, like, you're coming to buy something off me on Craigslist. I don't know who you are. Now, if I'm coming over and, or I'm telling you something and I'm coming over and you're going to take, it's cost $50. Are you going to take out your wallet in front of me and show me that you have thousands of dollars, or are you going to have a 50 on the counter? Because I know where you live now because I'm coming to your house. So basically anonymous technology, I think, is important just because, through the transaction, we can look up the other user's balance. But if we're able to get their IP address, well, now we kind of know where their computer is. And, obviously malicious people with bad intent can use that to essentially just take your wallet. So, I mean, that's the reason that I think anonymous technology is important as far as crypto. As far as developers, though, I think that's a terrible idea. And, I mean, that's definitely why I did a POD with Crypto Asian in the beginning.
Right.
How do you feel? Right. How do you feel, Dogedy Dev, about my opinion of the dark coin guys who have been anonymous from the start? So we should just kind of leave them that way because they've proven that they're not just going to run away on us.
I mean, are you sure that the IP can't be located through the network? Because I mean, I thought that they just had a coin mixer.
Oh, you mean as far as the coin goes? No, I mean as far as the devs themselves go.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, they've been around and that's good, but at the same time, who's to say, if the technology doesn't come through that they won't disappear? I mean, personally, I like Darkcoin. I think it has a lot of potential. I would just like to see them fulfill, their ambitions, They're very ambitious and they've been around a while. So, I mean, I would definitely give them that for their reputation.
Well, they're
but, I mean, that's
definitely
also a very rare case.
Yes.
Right.
Extremely rare.
Right.
I'd say it's less than 1 out of 10 developers that don't do a POD. Probably run off as soon as it hits an exchange.
Well, it's funny because when I first started talking about POD and proof of developer, I got a lot of slack about that. Like a lot of flack, I should say. People were attacking me and like, you're crazy and this will never work and dev should remain anonymous. And I just was on Twitter, just kept saying over and over again, we need proof of developer. And then that's when Crypto Asian decided, something, I'm gonna do this, and I was glad to see him do it. That's what I think we need. I think we need more developers who just come forward and just be happy, just be free in terms of their information. I'm not saying you have to go out and give all your information, but
right. Well, Crypto Asian's a really nice guy, which definitely makes it easier.
Right.
And at first, I definitely toyed around with the questions and was like, do I really want to put this information out there? But, as far as, accountability, I think it's important. And, before I even built the coin, I was a miner and trading, and I even opened up a pool. And, I said, well, when I do this coin, I want to do everything that, all the scan coins didn't, and all the ones that I bothered mining and setting up in my pool. I want to do all the things that those guys did not do and, try to take all the right approaches to it. So, I mean, as far as anonymity, I'm a huge privacy advocate. I think that people absolutely have a fundamental right to privacy. If they so wish. I mean, obviously, like you said, it's completely up to the user. But if, that's what they want, then that's what they should have. And I also agree with you. We do need, various crypto coins that serve various purposes. But again, we don't need, I think we're at 12 or 1,300 coins now on the market.
Actually, Mike Lowry said well over 2,000.
100 of them kind of have unique properties, maybe a little less than that.
Could you imagine if we were to reduce those coins to, let's just say 50? Could you imagine
chaos would
the market caps? Right. Just imagine the market caps of those top 50 coins if we were just to reduce it to just 50 coins. And that's the problem where we're at right now. Is that everything is diluted because all this liquidity is just like in all these different coins, and it's just spread out, and it's just spread out.
I contested when Gravity Wells came in and a whole bunch of coins started coming in. I'm like, what? Why? This is going to saturate everything. This is going to be terrible. And about 6-7 months later, it looks terrible right now.
It's kind of funny. I was never really a big fan after ASICs came out of SHA-256, but I got to say I really kind of respect it now in the sense that there's a lot of coins that come out that almost don't even need, if the developers leave, it's almost not even a problem just because there's so many people with ASICs running the network that the trading and the volume stick around, the difficulty stays there. And, I think that kind of, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I guess, so many guys with Bitcoin ASICs out there that it's interesting when you see an SHA coin come out that's not really unique, but, the amount of power that gets hit on that network just makes it valuable.
Right.
And that it continues and it lives. And then I've noticed the same thing, that a lot of the SHA-256 coins are still around and they're just living somehow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with, the lack of profitability and, essentially that comes from mining if you're an average person. But the amount of farms, I mean, it's, at first everybody's worried about, and the farms are going to invade this, particular algorithm. But now it's like, well, there's 100 farms on the same coin. So now it's almost, the opposite of a microcosm where it's, you have all these giants that are on the network and, the difficulty keeps increasing and, you see the value go up just simply because there's so many machines on it.
So you definitely believe a coin should be mineable. It should be continued to mine.
I mean, I do think that halving is a great idea, and, producing less coins. I do. I really do. I think the coins should continue proof of work throughout their entire lifespan. But I think it's important to obviously reduce them over time. I think that can help hold the value.
Right.
I mean, like look at Bitcoin, for example. I think it's 25 coins a block right now.
Yeah.
And and Bitcoin's not eventually. What is it? A third or halfway through its cycle?
I think it's a third. I'm not exactly sure, but it's about a third.
You guys are walking into my neighborhood of if you think it's only a third. I have a completely different view on that in the next 5 years, technology is going to come to, might be even earlier than that, to some new way, something else that when we see the new miners come out, things are going to completely change again for Bitcoin. When I can say, hey, I own a petahash, those days are going to come for some of the early adopters. You're going to have a petahash at home, and it isn't going to burn 10 million watts of power either.
Oh, right. Yeah,
right.
ASIC and FPGA technology will obviously continue to escalate.
Right. I do believe that for a coin to remain successful, it has to be mineable throughout its lifespan. I believe that. I strongly believe that. And I do believe that's why some of those coins that we were mentioning before, they're still around because they are mineable. I have nothing against proof of stake coins. I do believe they also have their place in the ecosystem as well. But I think coins should be mineable. That's the one thing about Bitcoin that I totally embrace is the fact that it's mineable. I just think coins should be mineable by everyone. I don't think that a server farm should be able to come and dominate, and then I have to buy a bunch of equipment just to be able to mine some coins. I think anyone should be able to get on and just be able to mine. So that's my philosophy with everything I believe. But
I think the funny part is kind of that none of us really know the perfect system. So. I'm not a huge fan of proof of stake either, especially because I've seen it become, the downfall of many coins on their first day on an exchange where, people that bought into an ICO or whatever has a ton of coins, getting coins to come out and find out if the people are legit. Just have a conversation with them, write them a couple sentences. When a coin comes out, I can write a developer and probably, send him to it. I mean, that's kind of why we're in the position we are with fiat. Human greed.
Right. And they took that same mentality and they brought it into crypto. And I can say I'm guilty of this as well, and I think most of us are. But I do believe that we kind of got to get away from that now, and we definitely have way too many coins. And exchanges are also to blame as well, because if they're not listing these coins, then
absolutely.
Yeah. And I
don't want to name names, but I mean, there's one exchange I think that everybody kind of knows that once a coin goes there, it's funny because often these exchanges will charge developers to be listed, and then you see them just accept coins, and there's not really anything unique about them, and you kind of have to wonder what's going on behind the scenes when you see that.
Yeah, where did that coin come from?
Right.
What's that?
It happens a lot. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
I want to expand that for just a moment, because if you look at we're talking about Trex, I think, and where's the Litecoin trading? There's nothing that trades against Litecoin. I think they even removed it from their site just recently.
Wow.
No.
See, there's an effect I just want to explain real quick, is that on Cryptsy, if you remember the older days when that's where the coins went to die, it either got pumped and dumped there, but see, it never really ever gets delisted from Cryptsy. It went down to the Litecoin trading market or XPM coin trading market or the DogeCoin trading markets. So on Trex, you just have one trading market. So to me, I always feel like there's larger investors at Trex, and they're just not interested in playing with that little stuff. And because there is no Litecoin association or even interest to trade on that smaller trade scale, it just, something's not working right.
Bucks, and I'm going to move on to the next coin. And that's the problem. And then there's just a lot of options to do that. So if you can get into
right. Well, I think we kind of learned that we can't necessarily depend on the people in charge in pretty much all aspects of life to look out for our safety versus their own profit. We see that just about every day. But I think it's really up to people like us to go ahead and just start, calling people out on it. If you think that something's a scam or you have some kind of evidence that, the developer doesn't know what he's doing, why not call them out? There's been a few times when I was running my pool where me and some of the other pool administrators would look at the source code when we're compiling on a launch and say, the source code is all screwed up. This sucks. And, we'd try to talk to the developer about it, and he didn't know what was going on. And we'd all kind of make a unanimous decision in IRC and say, you know what, screw this. We're not putting this on our pool.
Right. Yeah, and that's what it's going to take. Yeah. It's going to take the community to really start to push back on this. Or we're just going to keep having this cycle of pumping and dumping, and really legit coins that should get the attention of, let's say, a pay coin are not going to get that attention because everyone is jumping on the flavor of the month or the flavor of the week. Yeah,
it would be nice if all the pool administrators and all the exchange administrators looked out for the people's best interests, but they don't. There's a couple of pools, like in my experience, Minor Pools and ETH from Such Pool. Both are administrators that I've seen say, "Hey, this coin sucks, and we're not gonna launch this." And they actually give a shit about their reputation. Pardon my French. And they're great guys, and they're always around. But if only if only the exchange administrators were like that, and had that kind of attitude.
It's a really interesting matter that you were mentioning, because there's something that really has happened too that we've never, and I know it hasn't been a subject, is how there's been mining pools that have come up on big hyped coins, mined, and then they took people's coins away. So there isn't a pod for mining pools is what came to mind.
Right, yeah, it's not a very profitable business, as a lot of people would probably think, and a lot of work. So is being a developer. It's a lot of work, and that I think is what breaks a lot of developers that don't know what they're doing within their first week or so, or makes them want to abandon ship. But it doesn't make it right.
Well, I think that's the thing. If you are a developer, if you are a legit developer that's working, that's really doing what you're supposed to do in terms of, improving the coin, going out trying to get merchant adoption, whatever it is, that's when it's hard. But if you're out there just to make a quick buck, these guys, they come in and they're just like, okay, I'm going to just put this coin out there. I'm going to get people to mine it, get it to exchange, coin, and move on. But you said,
I think the best example is when you see the guys do the ICO and then the coin never even launches. And they just everyone's the coin.
Right, absolutely. But you said something else. There are instances where these guys, they go in with the best intentions in the world. They go in and they're like, hey, you know what?
Yep.
And they break. And I can't blame them, because you're dealing with people who are investing their money in this coin, and they want to blame the developer. The developer gets stressed out because he didn't know how difficult this was going to be, and he just falls apart. And I've seen that happen where legitimate developers just couldn't handle the pressure. They had nervous breakdowns and they just left. And that's the community's fault as well, because they got to understand developers are human, and they're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Every developer makes mistakes, but you can't expect the world from the developer. The community also has to jump in, and they got to help. So
absolutely. Well, especially on that note, when it comes to marketing, I'm a developer, but I'm an advertising specialist. So that's kind of when you need your community to step in, or people like that to come in and say, hey, let me help, let me send out tweets and post this around to people and stuff.
Right, and that's what I think we're missing, and just not just a lot of the coins now is that communities are just not there anymore because you're just going from one coin to another. It's not like 14 months ago when you had like the top coins and everyone were just into it and they were just very supportive and pretty much fanatical about it. But now it's just like, hey, I'm going to get my money and I'm going to go to this next coin. But for a coin to really be successful, it needs a community behind it, and it needs a community that's going to stick by it through thick and thin. But yeah, man, I will say it's very difficult it's very hard to be a developer. And if you're going to launch a coin, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into because.
I think the first month of development after launch, I think I stayed awake probably on average about 18 hours a day. Just bouncing back and forth between 3 different browsers and a million tabs and IRC and, a ton of different SSHs that are open. And I mean, it was chaos, but I knew that I was getting myself into that, before I did. So.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that I never almost went crazy. I mean, of course I did, especially after a lack of sleep. And then, you have somebody bugging you about something that's either simple or has already been explained. But I definitely learned a lot of patience from it.
Right. Yeah. If you can last 2 months, 3 months in crypto as a developer, then you can pretty much handle anything in life because it is one of the most stressful things you can do as a crypto developer, I should say. Very demanding. It's really demanding.
I feel like if you put enough work in, after a while, like you said, maybe about 2 months is probably about that turning point to where, things do start to happen organically on their own.
Right. And that's the thing. You just gotta have patience. And
yep.
I've said this quite a few times, and it's just not about crypto. It's just in business in general. Like most companies fail within 2 years. If you can make it past that 2-year mark, then you're pretty solid. So with crypto, everything moves at light speed. So everyone expects everything to happen very fast. But if you have
and you're dealing with a client base that's all around the world, so they're not sleeping.
Right, and that's another thing too. We're not talking just like North America or whatever. We're talking global.
We're not talking 9 to 5.
Right, absolutely.
Questions and demands are coming in 24/7.
And as we stated earlier,
if you're not awake, you get to sleep 4 hours per 3 days.
But as a developer, you're not allowed to sleep, and that's it. You have to be up 24/7. But the community, you got to tell the community, hey, I got to get some sleep. This is my time, and I let everyone know I'm 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. If you don't see me after that, it doesn't mean that I disappeared and ran away. It just means that I'm sleeping or I'm spending time with my family. But I could tell you there's been many nights where I didn't sleep, when we were trying to push out an update or, something came up where you're like, or we were working on whatever it was. And I just said to myself, like, if I can go back in time, I don't know. Like, I should have my head examined because it's a lot of work to be a crypto developer. It's not the same. I could tell you it's not the same with just like regular software. Regular software, you put it out there, and you have customer support requests, but it's less demanding. Like crypto is the most demanding thing that I've ever done.
Oh, right. Well, not only that, but I mean, you're not working on a floor full of 100 people that are all working on the project with you.
Right.
Right. If you're lucky, you got two or three people that you can go to.
Right. And see, and that's another thing too. And people, they complain when there's a bug. And I see all the time, look, if a major corporation like Apple or Microsoft, who have dozens of people working on a project, can release something with a bug, you can't get upset when you've got like 3 people working on a project or 4 people working on a project. You're going to have bugs. But but I got to tell you, I really love crypto, and just to see, even in this short time that I've been in crypto, I've only been in crypto roughly like 2 years, give or take, but just really just seeing the growth in terms of more people coming in. I'd like to see much more people coming in and expanding it outwards to when I talk to people about Bitcoin, they'll look at me like I'm crazy, but I would love to see moving forward now, just new technology coming out and, more people just doing innovative stuff, whether it's coins, whether it's exchanges. I really want to start seeing more decentralized exchanges. I'm tired of hearing about exchanges getting hacked and dozens and dozens of different coins just being lost, and all those people just like, oh, where my coins are at. So I would like to see more decentralized exchanges come on board. And I would also like to see more like coin-based services that just don't cater to one coin. To start catering to all the different coins that are out there. Because that's my biggest pet peeve is like a company like Coinbase that just only supports Bitcoin. But what about all those other coins that are just as great? And just to make it easier for people to be able to convert their fiat into, like, let's say, DogeCoinDark or ByteCent or whatever coin that's out there. So I would like to see that as well.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. I would like to see people start catering to more multiple currencies. It's funny that you're saying, you've been in crypto for 2 years. In the past 2 years, a lot has happened. We've seen coins grow. Look at Bitcoin, for example. That coin exploded and it became so valuable, and now it's, a penny or something.
Right.
So we've seen, and the weird thing about that, too, is those guys haven't done anything wrong. Which is the strange part. The developers have always been active. The community is huge. It's almost hard to fathom sometimes why some of these coins fail.
That was $1 coin, was it not? If I remember.
Oh yeah, it was $1 maybe just 6 months ago.
And it stayed there. It was a very strong dollar coin, and I didn't know it was disintegrated all the way down to a penny. So I better get me some of those. It's a good coin. Those guys are working hard too.
I had probably a couple hundred Vercoins, at $1, and then I didn't check my wallet for a couple of months, and then I think I opened it up one day, I looked at the exchange, and I was like, oh my God, it's worth like 20 cents. What happened?
Right.
But
there's been comments made.
Scenario, but those guys didn't do anything wrong. I don't understand why it failed. Sometimes we just, sometimes
I don't think it failed.
Shooting star.
People have made comments here and there. I don't think it has failed. I think
it hasn't
and I've
failed,
seen this. I've seen this throughout crypto social media, that crypto is much like ADHD or ADD. Buy now today, sell tomorrow, and never look back. And what was that coin, right? And that's a problem, is we don't have enough people yet to be able to sustain market prices. It seems like eventually everything seems like it's going to collapse.
Right. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said ADD or ADHD. They built a solid coin. I don't mean to keep talking about Vercoin. I'm not even connected to them anymore. But I think they're a good example. They released a solid coin. They did some development. They did, some updating. And, after a while, I think if you give people, all these things, they just become used to it right away. And then it's like a couple of weeks, like, okay, well, now what are we doing?
And that right there is another thing with crypto. So if you do not constantly keep updating, constantly keep doing fresh things, people get bored and they move on.
Right.
And that's another challenge with crypto, is you've got to constantly grab the attention of your community. And that's probably what happened with them, is just they just didn't put out enough stuff quick enough and people got bored. And then another thing too, and I think almost all coins suffer from this, is when that new flavor of the week coin comes out, people say, something, I'm going to sell whatever it is that they were holding and move into that coin. And I just think over time, a lot of coins suffer from that. They just have that moment where people are like, okay, I'm going to dump this coin and I'm going to use the profit from this to buy this coin. And that's because we have way too many options.
When you're a good analyzer, you can see it happening. You can see a coin dumping and it going into another coin. And it's a shame, because there's no staying power there, and that's what creates this bad trend on the Trex, because there's no smaller trading partners. You're either trading your coin against gold, or you can't trade it against silver or copper. I'm referencing Bitcoin as gold, Litecoin as silver, and Dogecoin, I'll give you copper. We're fighting for that copper spot, though.
Tax by copper.
Well, I think that's going to change eventually. I think people are out there now, they're looking at it, and they're saying, okay, you know something, it's not right. And I do believe that there are going to be services that are going to come out, exchanges that are going to come out that's going to do it the right way. I just want to see more decentralized exchanges, because we're supposed to have these decentralized currencies, but then everything is on centralized platforms. So if you have a coin that has, let's say, 3 million supply, let's use that for example, but 500,000 of those coins are on just one exchange, that's a problem if that exchange gets hacked. So, that's my issue now, is that we have to have some decentralized services, exchanges, and things like that. But we were talking about ByteCent earlier. What's your take on that?
Totally. I haven't really checked out ByteCent too much. What about you, Rick?
I just looked, some listeners said something about, here's an example of a dev cracking under the pressure. And actually, I got another mention. I got two mentions. One I've been following, Xcash. I had so much hopefulness for this. I thought that Twitter, it was finally going to unite with crypto, and it looks like he packed his bag. But our listener mentions this Quebec coin is, I don't know whether it's done or not, because I really don't think so. Maybe a dev left it, but I actually know the new devs, and I was pretty sure that coin's still circulating.
Yeah, I forgot Europe and Canada, eh?
Yeah. But, as a good radio host, you don't use slang.
Hey guys, I hate to cut my end short, but my girlfriend's going to be over here in a minute, so I'm going to have to run.
Okay. All right, thanks for being on.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, Iconic. It was a pleasure. Rick, you're doing an awesome job on the radio show. Been enjoying it the last few nights. You're kicking ass, and definitely enjoying it, man. So if you guys ever need me, feel free to drop me a line, and obviously I'll call back on the show sometime if and shoot the crap with you. So, well, take care, both of you guys, and like I said, take care. Good work, both of you. I think it's before I leave, I think it's funny because the last few guests that have been on the show, I think we all kind of feel the same way about crypto. It almost makes me think that maybe we should start up some kind of big think tank of, mature, reasonable individuals that can have conversation without arguing.
Danger, Will.
Maybe further some of these ideas that we have.
Absolutely. I think that would be great, because I think we have to have more maturity in crypto, and I think we have to have more thinkers in crypto to really push it forward. So I would be definitely open to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I think the world just in general needs more reasonable people.
Right. It was great.
Great to hear. Take care, both of you. It was a pleasure speaking to you, Iconic, and drop me a message, guys. I'll see you later.
Sure, Stan. Yeah.
Have a good night.
Take it easy. There you have it. IconicExpert and Sunrock Doggity Dev. I am starving hungry. And believe it or not, the radio has not ended tonight at all. We just ended our two guests, an unexpected guest. I didn't realize we were going to have Sunrock on there. We are working on the replay on demand system, or one part's being worked on. I haven't done a lot on my side except for make sure I mark my music or songs or recordings, which are vast and huge. And holy wow, did I record that? Usually I make sure when I have an extremely important guest on, because if I lost all that, I will cry, but I doubt it. I'm pretty sure I have that. The date is correct. Yes, I got all of it. It's all good. Most of it was in 128-bit, and some of it is in 96 kilobit. I shouldn't say bits, it's in kilobits. And what happened there was we had a little bit of a breakup during the station. I accidentally loaded like 60 browsers all at once, and I noticed that started causing some destruction, so I quickly cleared up that matter, and I apologize for that inconvenience and listening inconvenience. I'm going to go and have some food, and everybody else who's going to have a quick break and do what they need to do. And I'm going to be probably back in about a half an hour. Going to open the lines again because I am at, I think, is it 800,000 Doggity to give away now? 6 hours.